Hello again, it's your fellow wolf here, wintersummerfox, and in this episode I'll be talking about young furries.
And say that you were mine.
Welcome to another episode of Furry Talks. In this episode we'll be talking about young furries. Before I start today's episode, I would like to mention I'm also a young furry as well. Anyway, let's start today's episode with the question, what is a young furry, and what is my opinion about them? Well, a young furry is a person in the fandom who's under 18 like me. So in my opinion, the best age to join the fandom is 14 years old and onwards. I say this because in the fandom there's a vast majority of adults who do adult related things like drink alcohol and talk about adult content, which may be inappropriate for young furries below the age of 14. Also, another thing is that people may think you're weird for being a furry because maybe they looked up something about furries and found a piece of porn art and have suddenly assumed that the furry fandom is based around porn and other sexual things, which is not. Anyway, the next part of this segment is for young furries, and so the first thing I would like to mention to you young furries is that there's nothing wrong about being a furry and enjoying the fursuit and the art made by talented people. But you have to understand what you're getting yourself into, and you must understand their cons and pros of the fandom. And you also must consider what people may think of you. So, not to say the fandom is bad. Anyway, most furry conventions are 18 plus anyway. This is because to have a convention with both adult and a young furries causes the insurance price to skyrocket and causes them to increase their budget on the con, which in turn means the con tickets will cost more compared to only having adult attendees. Also, mass majority of cons wouldn't do this, only if they had the money to do so. For example, Athercon would be a great example of this because they have the money to do so. Second tip for you young furries is that you don't have to tell your parents you're a furry. It's just a hobby which you enjoy. But if you have to tell your parents like I did, which turned out quite alright, just be careful what you say to your parents. So the third tip, final tip before today's episode ends, is that if you want to commission art, most artists would prefer that you have a PayPal account to make their life easier. One thing also is do not commission porn if you're young furries, even if you can deal with it, because many artists will get into trouble if they made porn for minors. So, overall, there's nothing wrong with being a furry, but you need to understand what you're putting yourself through. And you must understand that this fandom has a vast majority of adults who do adult-related stuff. And so I hope you enjoyed today's episode of Furry Talks. Hit that like button and comment below on what should I do next. And see you in the next video. Bye bye.
I'm in love with the cocoa. I got it for the long, long